Warner Brothers, a well-respected film studio, but the respect kind of went down the drain at the very end of 2020 when they announced that all their movies for 2021 were going to their streaming service, HBO Max. Naturally, people thought that this was the end of the movie theaters, but they understood why they were doing that, because of a little pandemic. However, there's more to it than that, and many filmmakers are mad at Warner Brothers for doing this. But what exactly happened here? Well, that's what we're going to talk about. Hi guys, DPX here, and I am the In-Depth Detective. Welcome to the show with that same name. Today we look at how Warner Brothers turned an entire industry against them. Before we get started though, you know what to do. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the new notifications, and leave a comment, and you'll be a loyal subscriber. Now, what exactly led Warner Bros. To make this move, you may be wondering? Well, let's take you through a year called 2020, where there was a global pandemic that fucked up just about every major studio and their entire slate of films to release in that year. And naturally, a lot of them were pushed to this year, 2021. Warner Bros. Is no different. However, towards the end of summer 2020, Warner Bros. Released Tenet in the theaters, the first big budget blockbuster intended for theaters to be released in theaters pretty much since the pandemic started. So, a good half a year, I'd say. And while Tenet was supposed to save the theaters, it really didn't. Many people just weren't ready to go back to the theaters, and understandably so. So that caused Warner Bros. To delay Wonder Woman 84 from October to December, and Dune from December to October 2021 to give Tenet more time in the theaters. Later on, however, Warner Bros. Announced that Wonder Woman 1984 was keeping its December release date of Christmas, but was going to be on HBO Max along with theaters, those of which that were open, of course. This was worrying for the movie theaters, but it made a lot of sense, and Warner Bros. Consulted with DC, Patty Jenkins, Gal Gadot, and pretty much everyone involved with Wonder Woman to put the film on HBO Max, and worked out an agreement to make the move possible. However, nobody really expected what Warner Bros. Was going to announce next. On December 3rd, 2020, a little 30-second trailer was dropped. Probably shouldn't even call it a trailer, but I don't know what else to call it. I saw the title pop up as Warner Bros. And HBO Max 2021 Movies Announcement, and I wasn't quite sure what to make of that title and what it meant, so I clicked on it and watched the 30 seconds. And I, as well as I'm sure many of you, were quite surprised to find out that Wonder Woman wasn't the only movie coming to HBO Max, as pretty much their entire movie slate of films for 2021 would be coming to HBO Max, as well as the theaters on their scheduled release dates. Movies that seem like films that, could go on HBO Max, like Tom and Jerry and Space Jam, were announced to go to HBO Max, but also big budget blockbusters like Dune, Godzilla vs. Kong, The Matrix 4, and Suicide Squad, amongst others, were all getting a day-and-date release on both HBO Max and in theaters. This was definitely sad to see for many fans of the theater experience, much like myself, but I'm sure we all agreed that this made sense. Studios need to get their films out, and it's dangerous financially to keep pushing them off because people will start to lose interest. So to make sure that doesn't happen, you can watch it on HBO Max if you can't in theaters. Again, understandable. Assuming Warner Bros. Consulted with the filmmakers of these films like they did with Wonder Woman, right? As it turns out, Warner Bros. Didn't consult with the studios or filmmakers at all. They completely blindsided everyone involved. They didn't even tell Legendary about this move, and they helped finance movies like Dune and Godzilla vs. Kong, and they will actually be taking Warner Bros. To court. The directors involved were not happy. Most notably Christopher Nolan, who isn't even directing any of the films involved with this move, as well as Denis Villeneuve, who is directing Dune, who found out about this news by reading a news article. Denis Villeneuve ripped into Warner Bros. Saying a whole bunch of shit that is so long, I am not going to read it here because we'll be here forever. I'm sure you can find it somewhere, though. Christopher Nolan also rips into Warner Bros. And HBO Max with a whole bunch of shit as well, but the gist of what he said can be summed up in the beginning of his statement. Some of our industry's biggest filmmakers and most important movie stars went to bed the night before thinking they were working for the greatest movie studio and woke up to find out they were working for the worst streaming service. Ouch. So naturally, Warner Bros. Were under serious fire. Many directors were even calling for a boycott on Warner Bros. Surely Warner Bros. Would need to have a reasoning of sorts. Maybe even put out a statement. Why would they do this? Maybe at least try to clear the air. Why didn't they even consult with the other filmmakers? Well, now this is a clip from the John Campea Show, a podcast on YouTube about movies where they were talking about Denis Villeneuve's statement, and Robert Meyer Burnett, a regular on the show, had some insight from someone who has connections to Warner Bros. And just watch, it speaks for itself.
Well, I reached out to somebody who will remain nameless, who is an incredibly successful producer and very business savvy when it comes to this. And I asked him this. Here's what I asked him. With CAA basically drawing a line in the sand, do you think Warner Media will be more transparent with their future plans, and will they be making concessions to their talent? As in, will they just pay off things like performance bumps and expect to just pay out a few billion more dollars over 2021 as the cost of doing business? Obviously, AT&T is more interested in their communications infrastructure and their subscribers than the business of Hollywood, but curious to get your insights. Here's what he wrote back. It's been a nutty few days, and it has only been intensifying as the litigators are trying to get hired by the aggrieved parties. I've talked to some people who weren't that pissed off when it was initially announced, just like you said, John, but when they get calls from lawyers telling them what they can do if they were hired as their litigators, people get angrier and angrier. Warner Brothers will either pay out the back ends like they did for Wonder Woman 84 and The Witches, or they will have to backtrack and not do this streaming plan. I don't see a middle ground. That Villeneuve essay was brutal, but he is attacking the wrong party. It was Toby Emmerich and Carolyn Blackwood of Warner Brothers who came up with the streaming plan and brought it to AT&T. Toby Emmerich thought that if Warner Brothers movies drove more subscriptions to HBO content, they might put him in charge instead of Casey Bloys, who currently outranks him in the streaming content hierarchy. Toby decided that the risk of torching filmmaker relationships was worth the prospects of rising higher in the corporate ranks by looking like the savior of HBO Max. I'm sure Villeneuve will eventually find out, and he is going to feel even more betrayed. As for the contract model, I asked him if HBO Max, because it's AT&T, would adopt a model like phone service, like you'd have a year contract, a 2-year contract, and his answer was, as for the contract model, I doubt they'll adapt something similar to phone service. The closest thing to a long-term contract a streamer will do is give some sort of discount to prepay for a full year or longer. They would lose too much money on the customers who will join just to churn, which is sign up, watch the content they wanted to see, and then cancel. There's still money to be made there. And that was the answer. And this person I trust implicitly, and his business savvy and acumen is beyond reproach.
Now keep in mind, this could be fake, so take it with a grain of salt, but the information seems to be from a very trustworthy source. So this is likely to be true, and if so, Warner Bros. Blindsided all the other film studios and filmmakers for power. Now that's just dirty. Now I want to say this. Ignoring the fact that Warner Bros. Completely blindsided everyone, I understand the move they made to have these films on HBO Max. As I said earlier, these films do need to come out, and it's not good to keep pushing them off, or else people will start to lose interest and will forget about them, even if I like the theatrical experience and think it's far better than the home experience. However, Warner Bros. Was able to consult with everyone involved with Wonder Woman 1984 about that move, and because of that, Wonder Woman was actually quite a success. Say what you want about the movie itself, I know not everyone liked it, hell, I didn't even like it too much, but it drove subscribers as well as tickets for theaters that are open. Why they couldn't consult with anyone else involved with any of these other movies is a mystery to me. Even if the move was for power, you can still do that while consulting with the filmmakers who have contracts to put their films in theaters. Right now, Legendary are taking Warner Bros. To court, and it's looking more likely that Dune will actually get a theatrical only release and not released day and date on HBO Max. But what about the others? My take is that while it was understandable at first, Warner Bros. Kinda helped dig the grave of the movie theaters by making this move, but what is much less understandable is how they dug the grave for themselves and their relationship with the entire industry. My question for you guys is, just what do you guys think about this? I don't have any specific question, just what do you guys think about this whole thing? Do you understand this move? Do you think it was wrong that Warner Bros. Did not consult with anyone? Do you even prefer the theatrical experience, or do you prefer the fact that they're all coming to HBO Max? Let me know down below. Anyways, that was this episode of The In-Depth Detective. That's me. I'm the In-Depth Detective. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like this video, come subscribe, and any other movies, games, shows, game consoles, controversies relating to any of those things that you want me to cover on this series, let me know down below. See you guys.